Hello, and thank you so much for joining me in another episode of The Crypto Keeper. This is Chapter 7 of What is Bitcoin? Okay, and so Chapter 7, Participating in the Bitcoin Network. We're going to skip this content section here. What is a Bitcoin node? Bitcoin node is a term used to describe a program that interacts with the Bitcoin network in the same way. It can be anything from a mobile phone operating a Bitcoin wallet to a dedicated computer that stores a full copy of the blockchain. There are several types of nodes, each performing specific functions. All of them act as a communication point to the network. Within the system, they transmit information about transactions and blocks. How does a Bitcoin node work? Full nodes. A full node validates transactions and blocks if they meet certain requirements. An example, follow the rules. Most full nodes run the Bitcoin core software, which is the reference implementation of the Bitcoin protocol. Bitcoin Core was a program released by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. It was simply named Bitcoin at the time, but was later renamed to avoid any confusion. Other implementations can be used also, provided they're compatible with the Bitcoin Core. Full nodes are integral to Bitcoin's decentralization. They download and validate blocks and transactions. Okay, I'm sorry here, so let's go ahead and get back into it. They download and validate blocks and transactions and propagate them to the rest of the network. Because they independently verify the authenticity of the information they're being provided with, the user doesn't rely on a third party for anything. If a full node stores a full copy of the blockchain, it's referred to as a full archival node. Some users discard older blocks, though, in order to save space. The Bitcoin blockchain contains over 200 gigabytes of transaction data. Global distribution of full Bitcoin full nodes. Source bitnodes.earn.com. I don't know why I can't talk today, but we're going to move on. Light nodes. Light nodes are not as capable as full nodes, but they're also less resource intensive. They allow users to interface with the network without performing all the operations that a full node does. Where a full node downloads all blocks to validate them, light nodes only download a portion of each block called a block header. Though the block header is tiny in size, it contains information that allows users to check their transactions. It contains information that allows users to check that their transactions are in a specific block. Light nodes are ideal for devices with constraints in bandwidth or space. It's common to see this type of node being used in desktop and mobile wallets. Because they can't perform validation, however, light nodes are dependent on full nodes. Mining nodes. Mining nodes are full nodes that perform an additional task. They produce blocks. As we touched on earlier, they require specialized equipment and software to add data to the blockchain. Mining nodes take pending transactions and hash them along with other information to generate a number. If the number falls below a target set by the protocol, the block is valid and can be broadcast to other full nodes. But in order to mine without relying on anyone else, miners need to run a full node. Otherwise, they can't know what transactions to include on the block. If a participant wants to mine but doesn't want to use a full node, they can connect to a server that gives them the information they need. If you mine in a pool, that is by working with others, only one person needs to run a full node. For a breakdown of the different kinds of nodes, see what are nodes. How to run a full Bitcoin node. A full node can be advantageous for developers, merchants, and end users. Running the Bitcoin Core client on your own hardware gives you privacy and security benefits and strengthens the Bitcoin network overall. With the full node, you no longer rely on anyone else to interact with the ecosystem. A handful of Bitcoin-oriented companies offer plug-and-play nodes. Pre-built hardware is shipped to the user who just needs to power it on to begin downloading the blockchain. This can be more convenient for less technical users, but it's often considerably more expensive than setting up your own. In most cases, an old PC or laptop will suffice. It's not advisable to run a node on your day-to-day computer as it will slow it down considerably. The blockchain grows continuously, so you'll need to ensure that you have enough memory to download it in its entirety. A 1 terabyte hard drive will suffice for the next several years, provided there isn't any major change to the block size. Other requirements includes 2 gigs of RAM. Most computers have more than this by default and a lot of bandwidth. From there, running the full node guide on bitcoin.org details the process of setting your node up. How to mine Bitcoin. In the early days of Bitcoin, it was possible to create new blocks with conventional laptops. The system was unknown at that point, so there was little competition to mining. Because activity was so limited, the protocol naturally set a low mining difficulty. As the network's hash rate rose, participants needed to upgrade to better equipment to stay competitive. Transitioning through various kinds of hardware, the mining industry eventually entered what we might call the application-specific integrated circuits era, ASICs era. As the name suggests, these devices are built with a specific purpose in mind. They're extremely efficient, but they're only capable of performing one task. So a mining ASIC is a specialized computer that is used for mining and nothing else. A Bitcoin ASIC can mine Bitcoin, but can't mine coins that don't use the same algorithm. Mining Bitcoin today requires a significant investment, not only in hardware but also in energy. At the time of writing, a good mining device performs upwards of 10 trillion operations per second. Although very efficient, ASIC miners consume tremendous amounts of electricity. Unless you have access to several mining rigs and cheap electricity, you're unlikely to ever turn a profit with Bitcoin mining. With the materials, however, setting up your mining operation is straightforward. Many ASICs come with their own software. The most popular option is to point your miners towards a mining pool where you work with others to find blocks. If you're successful, you'll receive part of the block reward proportional to the hash rate you've provided. You can also choose to solo mine where you work alone. The probability of generating a block will be lower, but you'll keep all the rewards if you create a valid one. How long does it take to mine a Bitcoin? It's difficult to give a one-size-fits-all answer because there are a number of variables to consider. How quickly you can mine a coin depends on the amount of electricity and hash rate available to you. You also need to factor in the cost of actually operating a mining device. To get an idea of the revenue generated from mining Bitcoin, it's recommended that you use a mining calculator to estimate costs. Who can contribute to the Bitcoin code? The Bitcoin core software is open source, meaning that anyone can contribute to it. You can propose or review new features to be added to the 70,000 plus lines of code. You can also report bugs or translate and improve the documentation. Changes to the software go through a rigorous reviewing process. After all, software that handles hundreds of billions of dollars in value must be free of any vulnerabilities. If you're interested in contributing to Bitcoin, be sure to check out the developer Jimmy Song's blog post on getting involved or the Bitcoin Core website. Okay. Mining calculator. Okay. And this is at cryptocompare.com. All right. That is basically it. And that is it of this whole segment. That is what is Bitcoin. We're going to move on from here and go on to the next step, but not today. So that is, if you followed along in the last 7 videos total, including this one, you will have the entire story that I just scrolled past right here, and all about what is Bitcoin. Again, I get this information from Binance.com. On the Binance website, they have an academy, and there is a lot of information there. So I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for watching another episode of The Crypto Keeper. What is Bitcoin? Chapter 7. Goodbye.